destroying the destroyers of the earth.
Well, hey guys, welcome back to the second episode of Snollygoster. So today I want to talk about a more sensitive topic. And this topic is systemic racism. Now, if you've watched any news lately, you see what's going on with Biden winning the presidency and Trump fighting against it. And I hear a lot on right-wing media because I love to listen to Rush Limbaugh and all the talk shows, the talk radio in the car. And everybody says, oh, there's no such thing as systemic racism. But I think I can prove to you that systemic racism has been around since pretty much America was formed. So let's get into it, let's talk about it, and see what we learn. So, there is no systemic racism in America is the argument of the day. But if America was a person, their blood would be racism, their eyes would be racism, and their tongue would be racism. From the start of America, maybe since humans climbed down from the trees, we have been racist to our core. In 2020, America is the same. America has one face that has never changed. America has always been and continues to be frozen and never changing no matter how much change we force upon America. America, if it was a person, would be dressed in a multicolored, multi-patterned outfit, but still would see itself in the mirror thinking that it was nude. Outwardly, America believes that it's a melting pot, but deep down inside, America is a statue frozen in time. America is everything and nothing all at once. So let's look at the racist past. And we all know about plantations, but I want to talk about an event that happened that eerily mirrors what we see today in our society. On March 5th, 1770, in Boston, Massachusetts, colonists had gathered to protest the Stamp Act. As the protest gathered steam, British soldiers were brought in to maintain control. Back during those times, British soldiers were the peacekeepers, the police department of the day. Sometime during the protest, the British soldiers would later say during the trial that they had feared for their lives, and this was why they had opened fire on an unarmed mob. The first man to die that fateful day was named Crispus Attucks, a black man. John Adams, who would later become the second president of the United States, was a lawyer who defended the British soldiers during the trial. The soldiers were accused of murder and they were facing the death penalty. But the charges were later reduced and the soldiers escaped any serious penalties. The future president, John Adams, in his defense of the soldiers, described the men who were killed as a motley rabble of saucy boys, Negroes, and mulattoes. He even singled out Crispus, describing him as filled with mad behavior and wanting to be the hero of the day. Adams also said of Crispus that the very sight of him was enough to terrify any person, and that he took a bayonet from one of the soldiers and knocked a second soldier to the street. However, witnesses stated that Crispus stood with others watching when the soldiers opened fire for no reason, killing the gathered men. Farrah Peterson, a reporter for the American Scholar, that was a paper in Boston during those times, wrote that Adams' speeches during the trial were made in order to convince the jury that the soldiers had only killed a black man and his cronies, and the deaths of these undesirable men mattered not at all. The soldiers were all acquitted of the deaths of these men, thanks to John Adams. Now, this event led to the American Revolution and the founding of America. John Adams, the man who so vehemently defended the British soldiers, would now later be referred to as a founding father, and he would become the second president of the newly founded country of America after Washington and before Jefferson. Even though the events of the Boston Massacre occurred in 1770, we can clearly see that America was racist from the beginning. We all understand that slaves were already in America since before her founding, but the event that would lead to the American Revolution, we can now understand, was not so different from what we see in today's American society. The soldiers, police, cried fear for their lives and then killed with impunity. Leaders took the side of the police, and they referred to the mob as worthless rabble, even though witnesses disagreed with their assessments. See, when you take away people's humanity, it's much easier to shine a bad light on them and then kill them. The justice system had sided on the behalf of the police, and then justice was therefore perverted and impotent. This is the very definition of systemic racism. Some people matter and some people do not matter. Before America was founded, the life of a non-white man was thought of as worthless. Then Thomas Jefferson wrote of all men being created equal, when what he really meant were that all white men with money were equal. America later wins her independence, and the very founding fathers now profit under a system of laws that they created. And of course, they keep their slaves. These hypocritical founding fathers who had cried about taxation without representation now afforded unequal rights to other human beings who they considered inferior. Who speaks for the slaves of Jefferson, Washington, and the other founding fathers? Who represented them? The founding fathers took a great risk. If they had lost the war, they would have died as traitors to the crown, but they did not lose. Imagine the founding fathers' power. They had just defeated the British Empire, and now they had the power to create a new nation as they so desired, with them at the top. They could do anything. They understood what it was like to be under the heel of the king, and now they were free men. They were equal in their eyes because they were white, educated, and they owned land. Now, the founding fathers could profit from the blood and sweat of their slaves because they owned large plantations, and they didn't have to no longer pay a tax to the king. They all grew fat and wealthy on the backs of their slaves. The founding fathers were the 1%. It's the same today as it was back in 1770. The system has never changed. On the outside, the clothes have been changed, but below, it's the same old, the status quo. America is broken, but the truth is, we fellow humans are broken. America, like any country, is just a concept, a consensus of her people. Humans are prejudiced, and it does not matter if we tear down everything. We humans must change in order to fix the problems for once and all. To be honest, the only time we shall ever be equal will be when our bones lie intermingled in the earth. When skin is torn away and we are all reduced to bones, then I will not see your skin color or what sex you are. I will not see if you are fat or if you are skinny. I will not see if you are rich or poor, for now we are bones, and I haven't any eyes anymore. Now as bones we can be together in peace for all time, caring not about our differences or worth. We are racist down to our bones. We all must see that now. If we cannot see it, then we will never be able to say it. In America, we have fought a civil war. We created a civil rights movement. But down to the bones, the cancer of racism still thrives. America is still the same. It is Crispus Attucks, George Floyd, LGBTQ+, Native Americans, immigrants, poor whites, rich whites. All broken bones that have never healed, and they may never heal. The only great equalizer is death. And when we are bones, we are finally equal. This is why we must tear down the statues and the institutions of racist America and get down to the very bones of the issue, because it is in the bones where the answers lie. The racism between us is a bone of contention. We have to pull the skeletons out of the closets. What is important is the story of us. Because when we are all dust and teeth and dried up bits of skin, when we are nothing but bones, it will be our words and actions that will be all that is left of us. MLK had a dream, but I have a reality. Standing on those steps in front of Lincoln, MLK had seen brutality. He fell, cut down by an assassin's bullet, and his dream died with him, with mankind no chance to live it. Religion tells us we were created good, but not perfect. And I guess it makes sense because even our Creator wept. We were broken from the beginning. That is why all this suffering makes sense. Just our wanting to know why is our first offense. If we sin to know good from evil, then how can we be good to one another instead of so lethal? It was in us from the very start, a flaw in our otherwise good hearts. This is no fairy tale, but reality, I said to begin with. So it was no sin or Pandora's box or ancient myth. We are men, Homo sapiens, the wise ape. We are the same but different, changed by the earth's landscape. Throughout the years, our skin changes shades, our eyes change shapes. Our languages flow like rhythm of the river to and fro. We become a bountiful blossoming field of flowers. And from the trees we emerge with a still expanding brain power. Shades of white, red, yellow, and black. Men, all of us, standing tall with straight backs. And even though we have changed in shade and tongue, if we lay together in warm embrace, we create living young. My blood is also warm and red. Yours the same, brother in my head. With thought, emotion, and by a working hand, we all dare create community in a fruitful land. We are the same, but this is not reality. You are different in slight ways is our mentality. Your language, religion, and even the color of your skin. One brother must crush the other underfoot. This is our true sin. The sin of ignorance and fear. For the lust of money and power, I will lock my brother in chains and shadow the world a dark hour. I shall subjugate you while once you were flesh of my flesh, now you will be my slave. Like me, a wise ape from the trees, now like oxen till I place you in your grave. From subjugation, I will cast you into segregation and finally devastation. I will break your flesh, imprison you, and do my best to emasculate you. I will do all this under a mask of law and justice, encircling you in a thin line of blue. Over the years, I will lynch you. I will take you from your home at a late hour. Your body will be seen hanging from our trees. I will break your bones beneath the watchtower. And I will blame you for all my misdeeds, when really it was fear and ignorance that planted these seeds. A God in a book said that I have sinned, and in our hearts we are so evil. So what does it matter if I cut at my own flesh, break out my own teeth, for I have fallen without retrieval. But if I can break free of this thinking and remember our time back together in our trees, remember a golden setting sun on a long summer night in a soft breeze, might I also remember you, dear brother, when my fist comes down upon your flesh, so that I can restrain my fearful anger and instead through love confess that by dreaming dreams only fantasy exists. But if instead reality comes through and reason wins, I shall see not an enemy different from me, but a brother in flesh, thought and love, now perfect without any sins. Thank you very much. David, it's always Izzles. Make sure to like and subscribe. Bye.